Hello and welcome back to Blackdog 161.5. There you go. That's it. This is the feedback section, which is probably only being listened to by the 15 people who sent feedback in.
And you're all cunts. Especially the fourth one in.
Oh, I think he might be a reverend. But anyway, so
Danny
yes,
probably knows him intimately then.
probably.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I know them all.
Yes.
Internally.
Oh God. Okay, here we go. So we're going to read out the feedback. If there's any interesting points we've raised, we'll talk them over. I am, of course, joined by Foxy, Danny, and Darren. All of whom are sounding and feeling very sort of worn out by the fact that we didn't finish until fuck o'clock last night recording the other bit.
Foxy, are you, just out of interest, are you wearing your T-shirt that says "Lick my love blobs"?
No, I'm wearing the one that's just got a giant picture of your head on the end of a giant cock.
the one you enjoy licking fervently.
Yeah, scratch and sniff.
I was about to say that. It's all cheese. It smells like a freshly opened bag of Wotsits.
Scampi
That's
fries.
funny because I carry a freshly opened bag of Wotsits in my pants pretty much every day.
That would explain a lot while I was working with you, Foxy. My sudden aversion to Wotsits, for example. Right, okay, well, we are talking about Man of Steel, obviously. Not Man of Wotsit. Wotsits.
One bucket of water will sort that out. There we go.
Anyway, so I will get on with the feedback. So the first piece of feedback is from Anthony James. And he writes, "Hello, Black Doggers. It's been a while since I left any feedback, for which I can only apologise. You see, it's one of my faults in life. I'm a lazy bastard. So, after seeing some negativity and some positivity and some mediocrity posted about Man of Steel, I've decided to go and see it myself. Especially since having just watched the final episode of Smallville at last, I was in the mood for more Superman." Really?
Fuck. Okay.
I mean, because the last episode of Smallville just made me want to punch my eyes out. But
Yeah, there's not much of a payoff. Really.
No. Have you seen it, Foxy?
Not an episode.
Not an episode. Well,
Not a single episode. Although there was a nice pretty girl in it, wasn't there?
Christine Krug, can't go wrong.
Oh no, there was some good tang in it, but the last episode.
Daddy, when was it you grew up in the hood?
Man,
No.
Yeah. Hertfordshire, the hood of Hertfordshire.
South Central Hatfield.
Anyway.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
Anyway, so he was in mood for more Superman. What I saw was pretty awesome for the most part. Action, explosions galore. However, the problem is with those three words, what I saw, because there was so much more that could have been done to improve this movie. It jumped from action sequence to action sequence, but invested the bare minimum it could get away with in regards to character and development of relationships and such. The moments with Clark and his parents were great, just not enough of them. We needed to see more of their influence making Superman who he is, but at least they did try to touch on this. Unlike Lois and Clark's situation, which was sudden, that trust and friendship came literally from nowhere. They seemed to go from total strangers to trusting allies to falling for each other far too easily. He saved Lois's life, so she starts to investigate this mysterious hero. Then she finds it far too easily, and then he says, "Please, pretty please, don't tell anyone." So she doesn't. Some reporter she turned out to be. I think we were supposed to have seen her respect for him growing as she uncovered more stories of the people he saved. But it just didn't come across on the screen very well. Then there was the relationship between Superman and general humanity. Not General
No,
Zod.
Zod.
No, not Zod. No, that was Zod. No, humanity in general. Sorry, pause for tea.
General Motors.
Yeah, General Motors. That was fairly amiable for the most part. It looked like they were going to go along the route of the humans being untrusting of the unknowing alien amongst them, and then they changed their mind. I can't help feeling that there would have been thousands of humans who would have blamed Superman for the whole alien invasion thing in the first place. It was, after all, entirely his fault. Because he did. He activated the beacon on the
Yeah, but he
on that
didn't
ship.
know, did he? It's not like he went in it with his eyes open thinking, you know what, I feel like activating a beacon today is going to bring death and destruction to the entire fucking planet.
Well,
And no one on Earth knew that either, so that's kind of irrelevant, isn't it?
yeah, true. Good point. Well made. Moving on.
Yes, General Zod actually said
Zod.
Yeah.
I will find him.
have your fucking kneecaps.
I'm gonna come over there and rip your fucking head off.
I just don't. I like the accent, but since when was General Zod a gay hillbilly?
Since I made him up in my head.
Okay.
Hey, Soups, you're looking mighty cute in that suit. Why don't you come over here and sit on my lap?
You
Bing,
looking,
bing, 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 bing,
You
bing,
look-
bing, bing. Yeah.
you looking pretty mighty fine in those jeans.
Oh, baby, here's that bloke from Family Guy.
Anyway, moving.
Squeal, Kal-El.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's been that I've been spoilt with hours and hours of character development invested in Smallville. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh.
Just that
If
was
you
a
look
little
through
hard
this
to get that out.
telescope, you'll be able to see Superman in the last episode.
Yes,
right
there
over
is.
there. That's him, that pixel.
But it just seems to me that they couldn't really be asked with that kind of thing and just wanted to concentrate on the bigger visuals, explosions and buildings collapsing instead. I thought the visuals were very good for the most part and some obvious CG at times, but it certainly didn't look awful and really showed the power and energy that was being unleashed on the screen, though Zod's outfit did look a bit video game-ish in some scenes. I wasn't sure about the unsteady, trembly camera used at times. I found it distracting and it was obviously a conscious decision in the film to use this style, but I wish they could have opted for, a tripod instead. Overall, I loved what I saw in the way of the action and I would have liked to have seen more in the way of story and character development as well. It's probably the best realisation of Superman since Christopher Reeve's first two movie outings, even though both of those films are now dated. They still feel more epic than Man of Steel. So, where do I come in the whole negative-positive scale? I think I'm borderline happy, indifferent to it. Definitely in that band of what I saw as mediocre. That's pretty hedging your bets, isn't it? That's it for me. Probably send feedback in another year or so, so apologies in advance. TTFN, Anthony. There you go.
Bye.
Bye.
Very good. Very good.
Anyone got anything to add on that? Or should we...
Well, it's pretty emblematic of the sort of the middling reviews, the critical tone that sort of surrounded this film. It's I didn't really disagree with anything, but it's just sort of I guess that gentleman found it a bit meh, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I did listen to the Commode and Mayo podcast today, and they were talking about Man of Steel, and they said it's probably the only film you could actually watch and eat popcorn and not disturb the person sitting next to you because it was so fucking loud. but anyway, so moving on.
Just to address the thing of the tripod, I mean, we did actually say yesterday, old Lawrence being in the film, I think they ran out of money for the tripod.
Yeah, they
which is
ran
why
out.
They had the shaky cam.
They ran out of track on the dolly, didn't they? They just
No, they were using the tripods to prop his belly up.
actually, watching him run away from the building was the best special effect ever. Not because of the building, just because he was running. But
Poor
anyway.
old Lawrence. We've been very cruel, aren't we?
Well, we've been very cruel since about episode 25, I think, when we covered The Matrix.
Yeah.
And then did Predators way after that.
Was he
No, we didn't
fatter
do
in
Predators. We
Predators?
haven't done- we did.
Do you know, amazingly,
We
I've
talked
seen
about Predators.
Predators.
Amazingly, I went to the cinema to see Predators.
So did I. Well, that was the thing. We
You
went,
needed a widescreen, didn't
yeah,
you?
that was the first time I noticed it because we just reviewed, I think, the Matrix films, and then I went and saw Predators, and it was like his face filled a 2:3:5 screen, and I just thought, is that because they've zoomed in on him, or is that because his head is fucking enormous?
Do you know what?
And-
If you see the
Yeah.
actual action figure that they released
Yeah.
for him, right?
Yeah.
Well, they do those limited edition models where they get really accurate. Well, they've
Yeah.
done his face and head exactly to scale, but then they've put him on a much thinner body.
Yeah,
It's
so
just-
so it looks like a pumpkin balancing
It
on a
looks like one of
toothpick.
his bobbleheads. So slightly disproportioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
So moving on from Perry Wide, we go on to our next piece of feedback, which is from Ben Rush, and Ben writes, or rather, he starts his email with the subject line "Man of Steel," or as I call it, "More action than you can shake a singer at." He says, Hello, gents and mystery guest brackets. Hope all's well and not too many DIY accidents have happened lately. Man of Steel has arrived and boy was I a happy fanboy. Well, I was going to do a Jack P. Starro length post, but Jack will always be better at those sort of things, so I'll be try to be clear and concise with my views. Damn! That was brilliant. Where shall I begin? Krypton. I could do a whole movie just set there. I see Geiger was part Kryptonian apparently. Loved all the throwbacks to the comics as well as well, if you're gonna get Russell Crowe to play Jor-El, you're gonna get a badass who will hand Zod his ass. But then there's a moment where Crowe does the lines from All-Star Superman to Kal in the spaceship, and I was a puddle of fanboyishness on the cinema floor. I was heartbroken for Lara being left on her own in Krypton when it all went pop. And now onto Earth. The death of Pa Kent seemed a bit left-footed for me. I understand what they were trying to do, but it's not a big issue for me. But Henry Cavill was spot on as Clark Kal-El. He looked and sounded the part. Amy Adams as Lois was very good with a small amount she was given. I can kind of guess where people are going to go and have problems with this film, as it had too much action, and of course the end, which already caused many a meltdown on many comic sites. My view is Zod wanted him to do it. It was suicide, and he had lost every reason to fight by this point, and he was on his own, so instead he insisted on killing himself. He did something worse than... so instead of killing himself, he did something worse. If you think about the future of the films, he's shown that Superman is an imperfect hero and could be untrustworthy. Now, onto the destruction. I'm sorry, but this felt a lot truer than the Avengers New York battle. When beings of this power fight, things will fall over. So you can watch the Bruce Timm animated shows, and they have shown just as much citywide damage. Yes, in the commentary they make a joke about buildings being empty, but still. Anyway, for a comic book fan who's always liked Superman, this is 100% improvement on anything for 35 years, and in some ways better than the Donner film. And I loved all the comic winks. I'm still very impressed with the Zimmer soundtrack, especially seeing as he managed to get the 3-note Superman in there somewhere. So, to sum up, all the actors were good. I can't wait to watch it again. Anyway, gents, I'm off to the bunker of Shun. I've got a trolley of books with me, and I'm ready. So I'm ready this time. May great row guide you. Ben, I don't punch anything. Rush.
Bullshit. Yeah. So
I knew this was going to get a response.
Yeah. So okay. No, I mean, I'm being a bit snarky here, but I mean, yeah, Jor-El was badass right up until the point where he took a fucking heavy shiv in the side.
Yes.
So I don't think he really did hand Zod his arse. He kind of got sucker stabbed.
He handed him his backside, all right. And then it was just the moment there when he wasn't concentrating, and it's like, well, really, it shouldn't have been like that anyway. It should have been. Was it thingy Zod going up to him, beating the crap out of him, and stabbing him right there with great pleasure in front of his wife.
Yeah.
And then there you go.
I mean, the one thing we haven't covered is Zod as a villain. I mean, I think in this, he's much better than Terence Stamp.
Oh, blimey!
Whoa. The other thing I took exception to in that review, which was good, but it's kind of like, I think it's easy to get swept up in the excitement of it being new. I just don't think you can say that it's better than the Donner film, because that, like, you know. I just would never believe that, but I think that you can easily get swept up, just as everyone did after the Phantom Menace, and like, you know, you're kind of like, woo, and then it kind of settles in. You think, no, actually, that sucked a bag of dicks.
Yeah, but then, you know, conversely, you are coming at it from a completely different perspective. You are a Donner film fan,
absolutely. No, but I have to on the Zod issue. I thought that what I loved most about this Zod was that there was a real ambiguity and you could actually understand his motivation. I really, really enjoyed that, because the thing was that the Terence, he didn't have any lines as good as Terence Stamp, I don't believe. But the thing is, Terence Stamp was just a very, very sort of aristocratic villain, and all the arrogance that implies. But no, I thought as a character, I thought Zod was really great, because you actually understood his motivation for doing it. And just, I mean, okay, so he went a bit mad on the whole genocide bit, of course, but
Well, as you do.
I appreciated that the plot actually didn't make him out and out sneering villain. You actually had a sort of perverse sympathy with him by the end.
Zod's a silly name, though, isn't it? It is the kind of thing when you're like 6 and you're drawing sci-fi pictures. Zap, zap, pow, pow, take that, spaceman Zod. And then like a few years later when you're throwing all your old shit out, you come across it and go, man, that was a shit idea. Yeah, there it was in Superman.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because the original name was Clamlapper.
What does that mean, Danny? I don't understand.
I don't know either. It's an alien name.
Yeah, he was Kun Et.
Yeah, what does that S on your chest stand for? Oh, it's not an S. Where I come from, this means clam wrapper.
Yeah. Where I come from, this means do not trust this man and do not be on your own with him, and certainly don't accept any drinks from him. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on from Ben's feedback, thank you very much, Ben. And I did.
Quick question. Yeah. Quick question. Yeah. Does the S stand for spaff?
Spunky man. Filth. Yeah. Right. Okay. Moving on to the next piece of feedback. And thank you very much for that, Ben. It's from Lee Harvey, and he writes, "Evening, Lee, Darren, and possibly Jim or Laura. Who wants to be Jim? Who wants to be Laura?"
I'll be Laura.
Okay.
Thank God for that.
Oh, cheers, Darren.
That's all right.
Hold on. So what's that imply?
Well, you know, best of a bad bunch in it.
You got a scratch and sniff T-shirt of Danny as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
You know, Skype, they've developed this new touch and feel pad.
Step away from my
this
keyboard.
To my trousers.
You disgusting
Just another lovely Skype call with Darren cupping my balls.
Exactly. Well, you saw that stuff they had on Krypton, where they make the face out of that liquid metal. It's kind of like that.
What you mean? You mean
liquid silk?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It looked to me a lot like a fucking pinboard that you get from one of those gadget shops. Pin art.
Yeah, look at my face.
Exactly. I just had a vision of Lara L sort of basically sticking her face into a pin art and it's having it come out the machine on the other end. But anyway. He writes, evening Lee, Darren, and Jim and Laura. In the order I'm most likely to have been called a miserable git on Facebook. Oh, right. So I'm right at the front. Okay, fine. Just thought I'd pop out of the bunker of shun to give you some Man of Steel feedback. I've always thought that Superman was far better character than Batman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have been looking forward to putting this decade of Batman wanking behind us with a real superhero. At worst, I expected the film to be at least better than Lois Lane Returns, but it might have actually been featured Superman somewhere. So I'll get with the bad points. I wasn't sure the flashbacks worked very well, although I did get used to it. It just didn't seem to fit together as well and made the film a bit staggered. There was a point where I thought that the film had jumped ahead to the offshore oil rig scene, but then there was a few minutes of fear that a big film that I'd been waiting for would be ruined by crap cinema staff not checking the film first, and it seemed to me that the film was a bit disjointed after a great opening. I was so disappointed that General Zod seemed finished, as I don't think they really made the best of the character, and also that Jor-El doesn't like he will be back after being wiped. Oh, it doesn't look like he'll be back after being wiped, although I may have misunderstood that bit. Good points. Lots of Superman being Superman. I was very pleased with this. The film also looked lovely with some pretty good effects and costume design. I loved the bad guy's militaristic feel, and it gave a great contrast against Superman. The opening sequences on Krypton were also very enjoyable and fleshed out on the planet far more than I was expecting. This is probably why the flashbacks didn't work in the film and that was progressing nicely before they broke it up a bit too much. Lois Lane was done pretty well, although enough to quickly insert her as an important character for the future, but without overdoing it and losing the focus on who the film is really about. Also, by having her know who it is really means we don't have to worry about the whole glasses conundrum. Some have said to me that they thought the end action sequence was too much. Notable mention having Lex corpse on the truck, by the way. To me, this was no different than any other superhero movie, especially the Avengers. So, also, it's Superman fighting several other similarly strong enemies, so it needs to have that level of epicness to get across the danger the world is in, and the effort that even Superman needs to go to. Also, it's nice to see the shot in the arm that gives Metropolis building trade what they need. Overall, I enjoyed it a lot. Not perfect, but a solid start to hopefully a series of films. They have established who everybody is well and introduced Superman into the world. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next, and hopefully Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor, as he was wasted last time. By the way, fuck you, Batman, you're shit. Lee Harvey.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Bit of a controversial ending there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't think he'd say it to Batman, would he?
Not really. Well, no. He wouldn't get the second bit out. Fuck you, Batman, you're... And then there'll be just be a flash of a cape, and then he'd be strung up off of a building somewhere.
Better hang up his ass.
Yeah. You ever seen the underside of my back car? Yeah. Anyway. So, the next piece of feedback, unless anyone's got anything to add, I'll take that as a no then. Yeah. Right, okay. So, the next piece of feedback is from Mark Last. And Mark writes, Evening Lee, Darren, and insert name of random guest contributors here. So, Man of Steel. In the interest of full disclosure, I've been a fan of DC Comics ever since seeing Tim Burton's Batman at the age of 12. That makes me feel very old.
Fucking hellfire.
Yeah. How fucking old were we when we saw that?
Well, I was like 18.
How old were you, Darren?
19 at the time.
How old were you, Danny?
I was 15 in 18.
Okay, so you were almost 40 then.
Good.
Fuck off.
Anyway, 24 years later, and I still eagerly consume monthly adventures of Batman, Superman, and the rest of the Super Friends. Never been a huge fan of the Marvel comics, and I have to admit I've enjoyed and admired and respected their cinematic output, but I've always felt cheated that DC never had the same success on the big screen, Dark Knight trilogy aside. Green Lantern was an abhorrent abortion of a movie that was really from the same man who brought us GoldenEye Casino Royale, and Superman Returns was a misguided attempt at recapturing what had gone before. I saw Man of Steel in 3D at the BFI IMAX with fellow Blackdogger Matt Jones, a knowledgeable film buff but who had never really embraced comics as much as myself, despite my best efforts to convert him over the last 20 years. As such, I'm sure we've had different expectations regarding what we wanted to see. Overall, I enjoyed the film. For me, it managed to capture and successfully reproduce the Superman origin story without being a carbon copy of what's been gone before. Whether on the big screen or small or on printed page, while managing to update it for a new post-Avengers audience. The film was well acted, from Costner's moving and underused Pa Kent to Shannon's excellent General Zod. Zod's motivations for what he does, basically he was created to protect Krypton and its citizens, and his life had no other purpose, actually helps you empathise with him. For me, Zod was a perfectly chosen villain, and one of the strengths of the film was that when the obligatory reference to Lex Luthor appeared near the end of the film, you realise you hadn't actually missed his presence, although I'm sure he'll be front and centre for the sequel. Let casting speculation begin. No film is flawless, and I felt the ending was, for me, a little too Neo Agent Smith at the end. My biggest gripe, however, was not actually with the film itself, but with the format I saw it in. I personally think IMAX 3D did not complement this film, especially in the huge heavy action sequences like Superman's battle against the Terraformer gravity weapon. Huge parts of the scenes became an incoherent mess on the screen, and I think I'm done with IMAX 3D et al. Anywho, I'm sure this film will divide Blackdog listenership, and I look forward to hearing what others have to say. Till next time, gents, Mark Last. Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers, Mark.
So, yeah, a lot more love. I mean, yeah, what did you think of Pa Kent? I mean, I thought he was a bit wasted, to be honest.
I honestly believe that Kevin Costner got great mileage out of a very small role. You know, Kevin Costner was a great casting choice because people give him a lot of grief, right? But he really is. He does represent a real pure strain of Americana. So I thought, as a piece of casting, it was perfect. And I think he gave that strong moral centre to Clark, and I was quite emotionally affected by that tornado sequence, because it's I could understand the motivation for doing it. You could see it as like a pointless death, but you could see that it actually gives quite a lot of an emotional push to Clark, and actually furthers the conflict of kind of like whether to stay in hiding or to come out. So I think he achieved, in a way, the Costner's role was less is more, and Jor-El was diluted by appearing more than he needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say with Jor-El, the only thing that kept bothering me with Jor-El is he seemed to have this weird sort of thing with being telling his son he's a messianic sort of character. It's like, you're going to do great things. You're going to lead them into the light. By the way, you've got a bloody good destiny coming. By the way,
I've seen it.
I've seen your destiny.
No spoilers or anything, but
yes, your destiny's good. You're going to be a god. You're going to be a god. By the way, kids, you're going to be a god. It's like that's the most overachieving, overreaching parent ever.
Yeah, and in some ways, if you look back at like Superman the movie, it's like that it seemed that the plan to send him to Earth, right? It was all sort of like pre-planned and kind of like, we found this planet that will make him into a superpowered being and all of this. But I'm actually sometimes more engaged by the versions of the Origin where they just fire him out to space and they're just fucking hoping that he'll find somewhere, where he'll be able to survive at least. That's the massive gamble that they take. And I think they kind of overplayed it by not allowing fate to take its course. It all feels like his entire destiny was controlled or contrived. And but yeah, I would have really less Jor-El sat-nav.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, next piece of feedback is one that came in literally a second ago from Ian Wilson. And he writes, "Gentlemen, I haven't seen Yellow Submarine. I've only seen Man of Steel yesterday. So I typed this email missive out. So this observation is very late, but I wanted to make it nonetheless. My problem with the Man of Steel, and the most unbelievable part of the whole film, the entire running time, is Lawrence Fishburne outrunning a falling skyscraper with his gut flying akimbo. One can only assume there must have been a pie off camera. All the best, Ian."
Criticise that as you may, right? But at least he turned left. He didn't just run in a straight line. He
didn't have the Prometheus. No. Hey, guess what? But anyway.
Yeah, run under something. Is the best way to escape it.
Yeah, no Prometheus in this one.
No Prometheus. Nice. Right. Okay. Next piece of feedback is from Justin Woodman, and Justin writes, "Hi, Lee and Darren plus extras. In anticipation of this week's episode, I planned to see Man of Steel for Friday, which was also my dad's birthday. My dad has never been one for sci-fi or superhero movies until recently, when he got into the habit of accompanying me to the cinema, and he has discovered a love for the genre movies. He's working his way through all the recent Marvel movies since seeing Iron Man 3, and after watching The Hobbit, plans to tackle the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'll get him a big bloody great cushion. His arse is going to be flat by the end of that lot."
Yeah, make sure he's got a bucket
exactly
nearby as well.
So taking him to see the new Superman movie for his birthday treat seemed like a no-brainer. Foolishly, I did not pre-book the tickets, as we were going to go for an early screening, and when we got to the cinema, my dad turned to me and said, "Can we go and see that instead?" Unfortunately, his gaze had been drawn to the direction of a poster advertising another film which also happened to be playing that day. Being his birthday and all, there was very little else I could do but accede to my dad's demands. So instead of seeing Man of Steel, we went to see After Earth.
No.
You went to see Afterbirth. Jesus.
Yes, After Earth. Yes, with genetic. I've got to tell you this, right? I know it's a spoiler and all this sort of thing, but there are monsters, which have been genetically created by an alien super race. They've been genetically created with 6 arms to hunt humans, 6 arms, 6 legs, fucking teeth, can climb up walls and all this sort of thing, and they hunt by smelling fear. If you were going to make a creature that could hunt down humans, wouldn't you build some fucking eyes into it?
Jesus.
Just a question. Just I'll just leave that there. Just leave that there. Fucking smelling fear. Anyway, yeah, the only smell of fear I got was watching that piece of shit and realising I still had 2 hours to go. Anyway, next piece of feedback is from Ferris Bueller. No, from Stephen Hyam. And he writes, Dearest Lee, Darren and friends, my last email, posted 19th of July 2011, I wrote, so that's the feedback went well. I've been listening to the podcast for a year and a half. You never know, I might do a review in 2013. And here it is. The follow-up to me whinging and complaining about Ferris fucking Bueller. Good times. It's me, some guy who listens to your podcast, whinging and complaining about Man of Steel. Okay, so get ready, Foxy. I think you might have someone on your side now. Yay. Now, I know you all liked it, and I'm sorry everyone, but I fear I'm here to wank off into my hand and swill it around a metaphorical punch bowl for good humour. Incidentally, wanking off into your hand and swilling it around a punch bowl is very metaphor that I've chosen to bring some spice to the korma curry of this review. No one would judge you if you skip forward 10 minutes. It's a long email. Man of Steel starts off well. It's a noisy mishmash of fun with Russ L, baby Superman, being born, and I enjoyed the monkey horse wailing in the rising sun, feeling that it was all visually reminiscent of The Lion King. Insanely cheesy but fun nonetheless. What followed was 20 minutes of joy as Russ flew on an avatar bat horse into baby pods from the Matrix, taking that skull from the underwater cave where he swam along an underwater explosion like Mr. Incredible. I've nothing against unoriginal concepts, but in fact here I thought they were combined to create something truly immersive, and I could eat popcorn while watching. I've honestly never enjoyed popcorn so much, but then it kept going and it wouldn't end. Zack Snyder was fapping away in my face. Look, Stephen, he seemed to be pumping. Look how good my computers are. Remember when Batman Begins delivered confusing fight scenes where you didn't know where the fuck was going on? Well, here, look, I can do that too. And he sure could. The soundtrack smashed and banged against my ears. I got to watch Russ L. shoulder blurrily flash past the camera as Zod punched him in the face. Yes, Zack, that's very nice, I patronisingly acquiesced. Your overindulgent misuse of special effects is just as abhorrent as James Cameron's was in Avatar. But we're half an hour into the film and Superman's still a baby. Shouldn't we be getting a move on? You do understand that I came here to see a Man of Steel film that had Man of Steel in it, not Russell Crowe getting stabbed in the stomach. You know, you see the gravity of his death is based on the fact that he's like our hero's father, but at this point I have no attachment to the hero emotionally and at all, since I have no prior knowledge of the character. I've not seen the previous films, I've not read the comics, I have no reason to care about these people. I hope you're not going to rely on the audience's pre-existing love for the property throughout this film, Zack. I really hope you're not. Zack's self-stimulation became dutiful now. He knows he must work hard to reach climax, for the party attenders will not wish to drink the punch very soon, and he knows he must get all the boring nonsense like plot, character development and all that sort of stuff out the way if he's to truly enjoy the sight of people consuming his secretions when the climax of the film arrives. I watch on as a short scene after short scene pass me by. Lois, then Clark, then Lois, then Clark. Now my mind is working thinking, oh, that's a nice idea. Maybe they're showing us this story from Lois Lane's point of view, exploring the life of Superman through human eyes, showing how he never truly fit in, though he may well be accepted eventually. Oh no, they've moved on to a version of the origin story, so rushed I can't connect. I can't connect with these characters, Zack. I want to enjoy this story, but as soon as you begin to pull any sort of development into a scene, you've moved on to something else. Zack would explain to me in order to keep his excitement going that he needs to keep thinking of fresh new things that will excite him every 5 minutes. That's all well and good for you, Zack, but my mind is the one behind this film. Oh, your mind is the one behind this film, therefore your mind can instantly be filled with fully formed thoughts. In your head you see things that excite you, but you're not communicating them to me, the audience member. Honestly, Zack, sometimes I think you're just wanking in my face. As Zod's machine takes over the screens all the screens in the world, broadcasting white images of nonsense and moans, Zack is also broadcasting something white to the sound of a nonsensical moan. His climax has finally arrived as Superman sits down in the church to tell the priest that he hopes God is paying attention to how wholesome he's being, because he's going to give himself up without a second thought. Zack heads to the punch bowl while the party goers have their backs turned. They're all laughing at the priest's comically loud gulp. Zack has his fun shoving all the action on the screen, almost as much fun as he has laughing at the sight of all his guests sipping on his seed. He's forcing his creation into their faces and he's loving it. I watched the action drawn in by the start of the scenes. Superman flying into Zod for the first time to defend his mother, furiously pummeling the Kryptonian. It's visceral. I leapt to the relatable emotion like a starved cat leaps on a mouse. But the mouse is a little too big for my appetite. The action just goes too big. And whilst I appreciate for the first few minutes the sight of the uber powerful people battling it out, it goes on for far, 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 far too long. And I'm happy to see that scene end. I'm interested by the giant gravity machine. Zack, I ask, is this giant phallus meant to represent the cock of the industry fucking the earth? Are you saying to the audience that the way our consumerist destructive society is going will end up destroying the world just like the cautionary Kryptonians before us? I pause. Zack? Huh? I'm asking you about the gravity machine. Yeah, it looks cool, huh? Superman has to destroy it. It's big and it's going to be difficult for him to destroy it. I weep for my sanity. Superman has now destroyed the giant machine. Good, I think. There's lots of good ideas in the film. The actors were well cast, but the editing's poor and the action's overindulgent. Still, I knew when to end, so you go. So it knew when to end. So you go, Man of Steel. You go, girl. There's more. I have action fatigue, which is a shame, for I recognise the fact that the aerial battle between super gods is something that Superman fans must have been dreaming of all their lives. This is a comic action on the screen, better than it has ever been done before, but I'm exhausted. I can't take any more. People punching other people. I just can't take any more crashing in my ears. They hurt. I hurt. My soul hurts. What do you think, Stephen? Zack Snyder asked me with blank eyes. He really doesn't care. I liked Amy Adams. I thought she delivered an excellent performance. I understand she's still able to provide a relatable heroine, but I would have liked to have seen more of her. What? Who's that? Who are you talking about? I stooped to his level. She's the one with the boobs. No, man, that was Lawrence Fishburne. So it was. Silly me. Zack invites me back to his place to watch Sucker Punch. I decline. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the film. Personally, I'd give it 4 stars out of 10. Nice ideas, poor execution, and I look forward to a sequel in the hopes that it'll be a more interesting story. Much love, Stephen.
See, I think that was a very well written piece of feedback.
It was, despite the suspiciously well considered images of sexual violence,
which you couldn't get out of your head.
No. I mean,
I think he was. I think he was a little harsh on it. I think I still maintain the first hour or so is really good, and then it just gets too much, and I end up sort of forgetting that first hour. But I don't know. I think on a second viewing, I think I'll probably be closer to how Lee feels about it, or maybe Darren. Maybe
I think you'll have the same reaction of me, which is I went and it's like I felt a lot better coming out of it the second time than I did the first time.
But Stephen does raise one point in amongst all of his spunk punch bowl interfaces, which is how much of this is being carried across by our knowledge and love of Superman. How much of it translates to a person who knows nothing about the character?
I think someone who knows nothing about the character will see a film that is entirely in tune with the with modern superhero movies, with the darkness and cynicism. I think it will be consistent with everything else that they see.
Yeah, but who hasn't heard of Superman?
Yeah, I know.
But it's not so much who hasn't heard of Superman, but you know, you're talking about kids who are going in to see this film for the first time.
Kids won't go and see it. They'll go and see it and hate it.
But Lee, you make a very interesting point there, right? And this is something I failed to bring up last night. The fact is that with comics sales dwindling, right, the films, the filmic presentation of these characters are the primary portals for a new generation of fans, right? And I think that with Man of Steel, they have had a less than pure representation of the hero, and actually presents him in a way that is not consistent with the best of the character. No. And I think that's the one shame of the movie, and why people are obviously the comparisons to Donna, which are inevitable. But I just feel that there are many people who are, young people, who would respond very, very positively to the essential goodness of Superman's message, that are being waylaid by a film that is just purposely grim and joyless. And I think that's a deficiency. That's one of the real problems with the movie, a real shame. Because, for a lot of young people, this will be their first interaction with the character. I mean, aside from, cartoons,
yes.
Right? But I think it could have done more of that, because I didn't think that was a responsibility I think they missed out on. Because, these films, these are the portals for new generations of fans.
Yeah.
I know that when I went to see the second time, some woman kindly brought in her, I think, two and a half, 3-year-old in a pram.
Christ.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But even he knew who Superman was, because every time he appeared, he went, Superman!
Cool.
Yeah, but
so it's not,
but
I think you're probably, I think that's a blanket statement to say that most young people wouldn't know who he is. I think quite a few young people
would know who he is. People will know who he is, just like people know who Mickey Mouse is and know who Batman is. But I think...
And Stuart Hall.
And most young people know who Stuart Hall is.
Well played.
Yes, nice. But what I was going to say was, I think the key is, the one thing I always remember about comics was, do you remember Stan Lee used to write the little bit right at the very top?
Yeah.
That always used to give you the little backstory.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just have to interject here.
Yeah.
It's just when Lee said, the one thing I always remember about comics, and what was on the tip of my tongue, was to say that they were used to groom you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. One day I'll reveal how I wanked off to Corky the cat. But anyway.
Okay.
But the thing was, they always used to have that little piece of information at the top. It's like a little paragraph, a succinct little paragraph that would describe the character. And it was all, I always remember not really knowing the origin of characters like Batman, like Superman. When I first started reading those comics, you just assume the character's there and there's no actual origin. It's just an adventure with a superpowered character. And I think that's the one. That's the difference. You've got Superman, and everyone knows what Superman looks like and what he can do, but his actual origin, why he's on Earth, what happened to his family and his parents. I mean, there's an internet meme that's gone around. Kids want to be Batman, kids want to be Superman, kids want to be Spider-Man. So basically, kids want to be orphans. It's like, well, if you put it like that, but that's because most kids don't actually know.
Well, I mean, I think in the recent comics, in the last 10 or 15 years, there has actually been a concerted effort to put the log line of a brief origin alongside the logo of Superman on the inner pages, rocketed to Earth from the dying planet Krypton. Young Clark Kent grows up to become the world's greatest superhero in Metropolis, etc., etc. A couple of lines long. And I think that, that very brief notion of the origin and the general concept of Superman is very, very well known. And I think that that's what people can respond to, especially when with the cartoons, because the Superman cartoons now, in their various iterations, they've been around for 20 years, 15 years,
about that.
So I think that people do know. It's just a case that I think this film jibes against that more popular conception.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Right. Well, thank you very much for that, Stephen, and never invite me around your house for punch.
I have to say, the one line I did like in that, mainly because I have it on a T-shirt, of sipping the seed.
Sipping the seed.
That's very good. Very good.
Right.
Which actually, I believe, is Foxy's family motto.
It is. You should see the logo.
It comes
all
on a plate.
Dripping typography.
Yeah. The World of Goo was the game. Right. Okay. So moving on, we're on to one of the. They've got 3 pieces of written feedback left. The first bit is from Andy Palastides, and he writes, "What ho, chaps? Figured I'd better get some Man of Steel feedback in before I get distracted and go off on squirrel." Oh, sorry about that. I'll try to be brief. I really enjoyed this film overall. The cinematography was stunning, the score was amazing, and a welcome departure from the Williams score. The cast was pretty much spot on throughout. Russell Crowe as Maximus Domitius Jor-El and Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent, both being standouts, with Henry Cavill being great as Superman. But Michael Shannon as Zod, was stealing the show at every scene he was in. I joke about Khan and Zod comparison, and I'm not going to set Lee on a Star Trek rant, but I would just like to point out that Michael Shannon as Zod was a far better villain than Khan as Cumberbatch. Better than Cumberbatch was as Khan. It's fucking what kind of construction of a sentence is that?
He was a better villain than Khan.
Michael Shannon was
better villain than Cumberbatch.
Michael Shannon as Zod was a better Khan than Cumberbatch was as Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness. He was a relatable villain. You can understand his motivations and why he's doing what he's doing. Anyway, I really, really enjoyed it. The opening battle scenes on Krypton was stunning. I could have spent more time there in that world, even if subjected to the John Peters giant mechanical insects fetish. The scene where he flies for the first time is great. The look of contentment on his face as he takes to the sky is great. I felt it did run a little too long and he could have started the final fight with Zod before the Reaper had sucked into a black hole. The Reaper is a reference to Mass Effect.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, gigantic Lovecraftian sort of creatures from the deep. Anyway, the Reaper was sucked into the black hole and was probably cut a good 20 minutes from the movie without hurting anything, aside from the people of Metropolis. Oh, but that A-10 and also an A-10 tank buster pilot who gets torn in half by Zod's evil henchmen. Seriously, you can see his guts falling out and everything. Also, they were a wee bit heavy-handed on the whole Messiah analogy, all framed up with the stained glass windows of Jesus in the background. With regards to the ending, I really don't have a problem with it, and it's his first time as Superman, and really his first time exploring his powers to the fullest of their abilities, and in the open. Maybe it's as a result of this event he establishes the whole no-killing thing, or maybe it's just a part of the whole more real DC universe that Nolan's been cultivating, where collateral casualties are just an unfortunate part of the world we inhabit. Anyway, bit rambly, bit all over the place. The too long didn't read version is not perfect, did enjoy it though, and in my opinion the best cinematic representation of the last son of Krypton ever. There, I said it. Andy.
Now, have you guys read a book called Superman Earth 1?
I know of it, I haven't read it.
This is the one by J. Michael Straczynski. That yeah. I actually think is the best Superman comics for a good few years now. Because it's out of continuity of the New 52, and the first volume is actually very, very similar to Man of Steel. That there is an alien invasion that's sort of related to the destruction of Krypton, although it's not General Zod. And the first time that Superman puts on the costume and actually fights, it is when this invasion happens. It's what prompts him, because this alien character is looking for Kal-El to complete an act of genocide. And it actually, in the comic that played really, really well, and similarly there's huge amounts of destruction. But if you liked Man of Steel, it's a book you should go and read.
Okay, cool. Okay, and thank you, Andy, for that feedback. As ever, well appreciated, and no spunk in the punch bowl either. So that's always a start.
Well, we can actually rate these now by how much they sip the seed.
Yes, seed sipping, and how many handfuls of Zack Snyder man juice goes into a punch bowl?
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
I give this one fist.
One fist.
Yeah.
I think there was a guy a couple of feedbacks ago. I mean, there was gallons, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Gallons of seed.
Yes, it was like you could start cooking with it or something. Anyway, right, so next piece of feedback, our penultimate piece of written feedback, is from Ollie Peters, and he writes, "Hello Lee L and Darren L. So, Man of Steel. I'd like to start by saying I had no interest in this film when I heard it was being made and couldn't care less. I was more looking forward to seeing Iron Man 3 and Star Trek, but we know my hatred for both of those now. I went into this film knowing who the villain was, so there are no twists or spoilers there. They were up front with it from the start. No, oh no, it's Zod. Oh no, not again. Also, it was a reboot. That's all I knew. So, I sat down to watch it. I loved the fact that we didn't have long drawn out origin story. It was done in flashback, which I enjoyed, much like Batman Begins, with Clark struggling to find out who he is and how he should go about things. He gets more conflicted after his meeting with his real father, as he tells him how great he could be, whereas Kevin's telling him to keep it all quiet. But how did Russell know what size his son would be and have the suit ready waiting there on the ship for 1,000 years? Loved Krypton and the backstory on that. Really enjoyed how he had never flown, and he and the Lady Kryptonian started off by leaping about. Also, how he fell the first time when he flew. I did think that having a handy Lady Kryptonian looking pretty much like Ursa was a bit much, and calling her something else. The fight scenes were epic, not namby-pamby flitting about in the first films. These were superhumans, beings just destroying everything. The thing that did bug me though was Amy Adams. I didn't have a problem with her, just that she seemed to be everywhere, especially at the end before Clark, spoiler, kills Zod. They had a massive flying fight everywhere, yet she seemed to turn up just where they landed. Another annoying thing, apart from Mr. Pie Eater and his wobbling titties, was the end where Superman drops a spy drone and the army girl says, "Oh, he's really hot." Anyway, it's probably more I could say as usual, but I'll remember it as you talk about it. So till next time, probably a few weeks until you've finished off the musical madness. See you soon, Ollie. Thank you very much for that, Ollie.
Thank you, Ollie.
Yeah. Amy Adams teleporting Lois Lane, who always seems to be right where he lands.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And when the Zod and Superman were fighting in Metropolis, and then they flew up into space fighting,
yes,
they came down exactly in a straight line to where they kind of left.
Yes,
rather they should have ended up in the middle of the ocean or something. But
No, let's go back to the city. We got more things to break.
Yeah, we spent lots of money on these CG buildings. Let's use them.
Yeah, the Wayne Industries satellite getting fucked
I missed
up.
that. Is that real?
The Wayne Tech.
Yeah, did have a big W on the side of it.
Yeah,
so, for wanker.
Yeah, for punch bowl wanker. In fact, maybe that's what we should call this. Punch bowl wanker. There you go. Punch bowl wanker 0.1 and 0.5. Anyway, right, so the last piece of written feedback is from Bob Halo Man Lamont, and he writes, "Dear General Medcalf and Darren L, listen, you try thinking up these names. It's not that fucking easy. Well, I have only 5 words to describe Man of Steel. Bloody hell, that was good." Now, he should have stopped there, but he doesn't.
He doesn't.
So he has more than 5 words.
Oh, he's overegged the custard.
Yeah. Now, my relationship with the Superman franchise has never been great. I'm a fan of the original Donner movies. The rest I tend to leave. And Smallville was one of my guilty pleasures. I've never really read the comics, but know most of the major events that happened, i.e. the death of Superman, etc. Batman's always tended to be more my bag than Superman. I think that one of the best things they did with this film was to distance it as far as possible from the Donner version of the movies. That's not to say the Donner version isn't good, but the last film that tried to emulate it, Superman Returns, was, as you guys say, pure dog egg. It also enabled us to have a rather kick-ass and epic score by Mr. Hans Zimmer. One of the main things that I liked about the film was that it really did flesh out the Kryptonians, their planet. It made them more than just a group of people looking like they were filming a Purcell ad. They just we got to see some examples of the planet, the plants, the aliens of this world, and it gave a sense of alienness and less like a set. The Kryptonians were also better represented in this film with the armour that they wear and seemingly social structure that they had, in a way that we got to know them a bit better than in the first 20 minutes of the film, and therefore had a bit more loss when the planet finally exploded. It was also nice to see that Zod was not just as mad as a cake dictator that he had actually been shown in the previous media. Where whatever he did, he did to bring back his people, even if the price was to kill off the human race. It made his actions more understandable. It was also clever to see that Kryptonians, Superman included, did not adapt to our planet straight away. They had to spend time adapting. And lastly, I liked the way that Superman was portrayed in this movie. He wasn't the big blue Boy Scout he's always usually portrayed as in the comics and other media. We got to see the fallout of a kid being flooded with all these things, these heightened senses, and Jonathan Kent got the better send-off than the heart attack when he died to protect his son's secret. He was mistrustful of the humans when Zod made his ultimatum, and we saw him get really angry when Zod was hurting his mother. It's great to see Superman lose his shit and beat the crap out of Zod at that point. And then the fighting from all the Kryptonians was brilliant as well. I felt the lack of the word super. It felt better for the lack of the word super. And this is how you show super beings going at each other. However, the film does have its flaws. The pacing feels a bit weird. The whole Clark Kent glasses thing at the end feels a bit out of place in this universe. But the glasses thing has always been a bone of contention in whatever Superman media I've ever watched or read. The only thing I can see that's wrong with this film is that it takes a bit too seriously at times. But in all, I really enjoyed this film. While I can see some people will hate it, I feel that this is a new Superman movie for a new generation. A firm 9 out of 10 for me. Speak to you later, lads. Bob Lamont. P.S. The Phantom Zone pods look like cocks.
Yay! Fucking do.
They did.
Massive cocks.
I bet you were so thrilled, weren't you, Danny?
I was. I wanted to take them all at once.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you for straight up your Phantom Zone.
I thought that whole Phantom Zone thing was lame.
It was a bit strange. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
but so
I thought it was better in the 1970s one.
They trapped in a carrier bag.
But I don't.
That was scarier and
Explain
weirder.
to me the dynamic of this Phantom Zone, right? So basically, they get encased in the cocks, right?
Yes.
Then they fly up into this weird portal.
Yeah.
And that they fly into that. That's the Phantom Zone, and then that thing just flies through space like the glass diamond of the original films.
Well, no, it goes into an alternate dimension. It just goes in there, but they can't survive in it. So basically, they lock them up in that dimension. It's like it doesn't fly through space. It only flew through space because what happened was that machine
got blown out because of
out.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't clear on that. I was a bit confused.
Right.
They basically came out the Phantom Zone at the end of their term.
Yeah.
The Phantom Zone
got
pulled out by the destruction of Krypton. That's right.
Don't you think it would have been really good if they got to the Phantom Zone and then found out that Joseph Fritzl was there? If we're talking narrative left turns.
Well, yes. If we're talking narrative left turns. Oh, God.
Is it over yet?
Almost. We got 3 pieces of MP3, so this should be over fairly quickly. I can't play...
Oh, stop whining, you cunt.
Right.
It'll be over when it's over.
We have...
You've said that before.
Yes. Relax, it'll go quicker.
How are your students?
Steady.
Stay on target.
Yeah.
I am your father.
No. Right.
He said in his tutorial. Yeah.
Yes.
I am your daddy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I am your paternity suit father.
Yes. Okay, right. Well, we're going to start off with the MP3 feedback now.
Yes.
Which, unfortunately, due to technical limitations, means I just have to play it from the iPad down the mic at you guys.
Okay.
Hopefully, it should sound okay. I've got the mic all sorted out. And this first one is from the Reverend Peter Organ. And he has this to say about the Man of Steel.
Hi, just back from seeing Man of Steel, so I thought I'd sort of give you my immediate reactions, really. Some of it was good. There was some very nice design work. Particularly enjoyed Krypton at the start, some splendid spaceships and things, and the technology was distinctive, rather bizarre at times. It looked like a lot of the stuff was made out of mercury, sort of liquid metal type effects, all their displays and things. So I like that side of things. The fights, the super fights, as in when Superman was fighting Zod and his minions, they really benefited from having Zack Snyder directing this film, because normally you watch his fight scenes and you think, well, no human being could survive, that's just stupid. So hyper-realistic and rubbish, but actually it works if you're dealing with superpowered beings, so that was okay. Although it has to be said, in the final fight with Zod, you did wonder how Superman was able to kill him just by twisting his neck, considering all he'd been through up to that point and they hadn't got a scratch on him. But apparently you can break their neck. I don't know. It didn't quite stack up, that. Zod himself, I thought, was very well portrayed, and we got a realistic motivation for him. He wasn't just turning up and being nasty. He was, effectively he was programmed that way, and you almost get a bit of empathy for him, almost. So that's a pretty good effort, really. He's not just a snarling, scenery-chewing bad guy, although he has his moments. And Henry Cavill was very good as Superman. Amy Adams, unfortunately, I just kept expecting her to break into song. Too used to seeing her in the Muppets. That's the problem with that, but there we go. And the way she was acting wasn't particularly different to the Muppets movie either in many ways, so not so sure about her talent as an actress. Russell Crowe was quite good, doing the old gruff voice thing quite nicely. And it was good to see Lawrence Fishburne in widescreen again, for a change. The story was okay. It was a little po-faced. There weren't very many moments of humour, and when they did try it, it fell rather flat. You compare that with, the wit in the Iron Man and Avengers films, and it doesn't bear comparison, does it, unfortunately? So they need to work on that, really, for DC films. I quite like the use of flashback throughout, so that we didn't get all the early, young Clark Kent stuff all in one dose at the start, and that was a good approach to it, I thought. Then I'm running out of good things to say about it, I guess, because the music was irritating, because it's the Inception score all over again, isn't it? Which is now getting a bit repetitive. The ending was a bit a shame, really, considering, as you guys had said, the whole Clark Kent thing is probably the weakest link when it comes to Superman, and it looked like, well, for the majority of the film, that wasn't an issue. They'd sidestepped the issue very nicely. And then they let it down with that ending, and it's like, okay, so they're going to make a sequel now, and he is Clark Kent? Oh, and never mind. But worst of all, definitely, was whilst there were moments when Zack Snyder's direction was good, there were plenty of other moments when I felt like screaming at the screen, particularly the more sort of tender, gentle moments, the Jonathan Kent stuff, and the camera's just moving around all over the place. Just keep the camera still so I can enjoy these performances and get sucked into the film, because the problem is you're sitting there and you're always aware you're watching a film because the camera's always moving. I don't know why the man can't use a tripod. Somebody ought to educate him in the use of keeping a camera still. So ultimately, because I kept being drawn out the film, I didn't really enjoy it as much as maybe I would have done had it been another director, is the bottom line. They got so many things right, ultimately it was a very bad choice of director, beyond the fact that he did make the Supermen fights, if you like, look good. The rest of it I could have done with another director for, to be honest. Well. So, okay. Certainly better than Superman Returns, but flawed. And I'm not sure I'm too bothered about watching it again. Which is a shame, because Henry Cavill's really good in it and actually makes for a really good Superman. But there we are.
Thank you, Reverend Pete. And you can catch him and his lovely wife, Anne-Marie, doing their Star Trek podcast, The Borgcast, or the Orgcast, which you can find on geekplanetonline.com and iTunes.
I like his review.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's a very measured approach. I think it echoed a lot of what I was thinking, really.
Yeah.
But I thought he's a good man. Yeah. So he does a podcast, does he?
Yeah, he does a Star Trek Next Generation podcast. He also features on other podcasts. He does turn up on ours now and again. And
and at the pub.
Yeah, and at the pub, which we have met him numerous times at the pub and geek out at the pub. It is worth mentioning, though, he has two fatal flaws. One of which is he has an unbending love for Star Trek V.
Which one's that?
That's the Kirk goes to God.
No, I'm not even sure I've seen that.
You have.
Oh, I know it seems weird, but I don't know. When did that come out?
89.
Yeah.
See, I think I was too busy trying to recall around that time. I think I ignored it.
Well, I'm glad you gave up when you did.
Yeah, it was about a year later.
About 1989, wasn't it?
How old were you about that? 14? 13?
When was it? 89?
Yeah.
I can't do the maths. Yeah, about 15.
15.
I was going to say, so how close to 40 were you, Foxy?
Yeah, exactly the same as Danny. And having a slightly less crisis moment about it.
Infused.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm looking forward to next year. I really am. With my grey beard. Anyway. Right.
Your small penis.
And my small penis. Well, let's be honest. It does drop off when you hit 40. I'm just warning you guys, okay? Right, okay.
Foxy, quite perversely, you love something that's approximating a baby carrot and a couple of petit pois, don't you?
You like some on the bowl? You like some on the spoon?
Danny, have you got your trousers down right now?
Yes.
Right, moving swiftly on. We have next piece of feedback, which is from Martin Thompson. And this is what he has to say about Man of Steel.
Hi there, Lee and Darren. It's Martin once again. I'm sitting in Blue Water Cinema at the moment, just about to go in and see Man of Steel, this week's film. I have to say the trailer hasn't really inspired much in me. It just looks like one of those it's going dark for darkness' sake kind of movies. All sort of muted colours, and don't really like the new super suit as well. But, so anyway, I'll see what I make of it. Everyone here who I know and I trust has seen this film has absolutely loved it, which is what you don't often get, a sort of a straight all across the board kind of love for a film. But hopefully, yes, I'm not going in with the best of attitudes, but hopefully I'll hope to have that turned around. I hope to really enjoy it. All right, we'll see what happens then. Okay, I'll catch you on the flip side. Right, hi there, I'm back, and I'm still taking in the film. It's been a few hours later now. It's a visually stunning film, which you're going to get with Zack Snyder anyway. I think the shaky cam look does it a lot of good as well. I think it lends it a unique look. The design of it's very good, especially when they were back on Krypton at the beginning with all the dragonfly spaceships and everything. As we got into it, I did find the flitting about in between Clark's timeline a bit distracting, to be honest. You're never sure where you were and which bit you might be coming back to. It was like watching Stephen Moffat Doctor Who. I'm glad we're not even now, and it obviously helped Lois Lane to track him down. You saw faces from the past. I think it all gelled together wonderfully. When we got to the finale, I'm sorry, but that was a bit relentless for my liking. It was just big fight after big fight after big fight. I think, is this going to be the end now? Is this going to be the end? Which I suppose I shouldn't really be thinking of this type of film, but yeah, as I say, I just found it a bit relentless, and the shaky cam was ramped right up to 11, and not sure what was happening where. And the world engine they mentioned earlier as well, it was my problem with the Amazing Spider-Man as well. You mention your end game at the beginning, or in the spiel that Zod was doing anyway. So I wonder if that's going to come in handy later on, which it almost inevitably does. As I say, it's another one of these 2.5 hour films that I don't think people know how to edit anymore. We seem to be getting a lot of these recently. Right, well, the actors were all very good as well. Russell Crowe was good, Henry Cavill was good as Superman. Amy Adams, I think, needed a bit more fire in her belly as Lois Lane, but I thought she was very good. Oh, that's another thing. Why do we have the Jor-El? Now he's a computer virus. He could leap in and out everywhere. Why do they want Lois on that ship as well? How did she get the command key? I'm not sure of that as well. Another bit I loved. I loved the whole Kryptonians having to adjust to Earth's atmosphere. I thought that lent them a very good Achilles heel that didn't seem too obvious. Maybe with the origin out of the way now, where there's sequel. It would be interesting to see where they go from there. Perhaps we go back into Lex Luthor and his dodgy real estate deals, because we did see that LexCorp lorry, which I thought was very good. Clark Kent as well. I know you guys are going to obviously discuss him. I don't think it's that bad that he's in it. For a start, you need to know what Superman looks like. He might just be a blue blip in the sky. I mean, it depends whether you actually sit down and have an interview with him. And even if you do see, like, oh, there's a person in the office who looks a bit like Clark Kent. I mean, Christopher Reeve had a very bumbling persona. So you think, right, okay, the guy who spilled coffee down his shirt this morning and tripped over his shoelaces, he's responsible for rescuing a lot of people from a flood in Tahiti. Yeah, you know what? I think it might be bunker of shun for me this week. It was a good film, and it was one of the best Superman films for a long time. You know, definitely beats Quest for Peace and Superman Returns. I just don't know if it's a great film. Could have done with a bit more humour. I think Iron Man 3 is still my favourite of the year so far. All right, okay. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week for the resume of Musical Month. Okay, thank you guys, and goodbye.
Thank you very much for that, Martin, and wherever it was that you were hiding to whisper like that, I hope they didn't find you. Yes. Well, okay, fair enough. It seems to be sort of like he's on the sort of more negative side. He liked it, but it was humorless. You know, he's kind of ticking off pretty much everything we seem to already have discussed.
Points already covered.
So thank you very much for that, Martin.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Right, okay, so the last piece of feedback is, of course, from the one and the only Mr. Jim Moon.
Who looks nothing like I imagined. I was quite disappointed, Jim.
Really?
Change your face.
What were you expecting him to look like?
Well, it's funny. I was imagining him a skinny old bloke, and he's a little bit younger and chubbier than I'd expected. So I'm disappointed, Jim.
Did that put you off your stroke?
Yeah, no, nothing puts me off my stroke.
He's a nice guy. We've met him a couple of times. He's really cool.
Have I met him?
You haven't? No.
No.
I wouldn't let him anywhere near you.
Yeah. No, he just needs to get a bit skinnier and older, and then he'll fit the visual image I had in my head.
Okay, fair enough. Well, yes.
I love you, though, Jim. You're great.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though you don't fit into my
worldview. Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, what's really interesting here is that Jim hasn't seen Man of Steel, because he's currently residing on beach in Tenerife.
I know, I'm looking at his Facebook page at the moment. I don't know how I'm allowed to do that.
Well, yeah, he's got no secrets to hide. But I'll read you the email that accompanies this MP3 feedback. What's this? What be this? A reedy out bit? I can't do it. I really should do it in Jim's voice, but anyway. As both myself and Jack P. Starro were unable to see Man of Steel this week, as it isn't showing in Australia for another fortnight, and I'm sunning myself in Tenerife, and don't wish to see this epic dubbed into Spanish, we've decided to pool our resources. Summoning the eldritch power of my Library of Dreams and the Otter Talisman of the Damp Night, because Jack P. Starro, one of our regular feedbackers, has somehow acquired the moniker of Otter Puncher, which
quite randomly off the top of my head,
off of Darren's head, yeah. So anyway, Jim continues. We present to you our predictions for the content of this much anticipated yet anxiously feared cinematic odyssey, penned together, but given the inverted funhouse mirror twist and the fact that the holiday microphone is Bobbins, to be read by the Otter Masher himself. So we give you the Bizarro prophecies. P.S. There's a fabulous no prize of a genuine flying V otter punching guitar that will be teleported into the cunning dogger who can discern what prophet prophesied what. So basically, he and Jack P. Starro have come together, written some prophecies of what they think this film's going to be like. And yes, and now so we're going to hear Jack P. Starro reading out Jim Moon's thoughts on what Man of Steel might be like.
The Bizarro Prophecies. Number 1.
Zod's most famous line will be uttered again in Man of Steel, but with a cunning twist. For after he delivers that iconic line, he steps aside to reveal the real uber villain, Fat Neil from Community.
Number 2.
Russell Crowe will deliver all his lines as Jor-El in a broad Aussie strine, and declare the destruction of Krypton to be, "All right, fucking cock up, mate."
Number 3.
Contrary to all statements made beforehand, the original John Williams theme will appear in Man of Steel, but as the tones of a keypad combination, opening the safe where Perry White has hidden the Daily Planet's incriminating phone hacking evidence.
Number 4.
If you play Hans Zimmer's score backwards, you'll hear a dissertation explaining how a complex metatextual critique of sexism in geek culture, embedded in the subtext of Sucker Punch, makes it an inspirationally feminist film. But if you play it forwards and at half speed, it actually becomes the fabled brown note. Either way, you will get the shits.
Number 5.
In keeping with the precedent set by Iron Man 3, in the last battle Lois Lane will gain superpowers and turn up in her bra and panties to skullfuck Doomsday to death with a kryptonite strap-on.
Number 6.
Gene Hackman's wig appears in a cameo role as a Yorkshire Terrier, atomised by stray heat vision beams, in a bizarre homage to the John Cleese classic, A Fish Called Jamie Lee Curtis in Her Pants. I mean, Wonder, dammit.
Number 7.
Zack Snyder includes Easter eggs of his past films, including a surprisingly explicit sequence of Baby Doll and Queen Gorgo tag teaming on Dr. Manhattan's giant blue atomic rod.
Number 8.
The absence of Superman's iconic red underpants will turn out to be a major plot twist, involving a race of sentient knickers that will change the face of DC continuity.
Number 9.
Hyperdimensional trickster pixie and all-round fuckwit, Mr. Mxyzptlk will appear too, but not be named, as no bugger can say it.
Number 10.
Contrary to Darren's prediction, Clark Kent will appear as his traditional bespectacled disguise in the last scene of the film, a la the final reveal of Bond, James Bond, at the end of Casino Royale. Unfortunately, there will also be a 10-minute post-credits scene where his Daily Planet job interview requires him to watch a naked Perry Fishburne White masturbating into many pies and then eating them.
Here endeth the prophecies.
Well, that was unique. Thank you, Jim and Jack. Jack P. Starro, the voice of the Otter Puncher there, and the words of his own words and Jim's. So that's possibly the most unique feedback we've had on 161 episodes.
That was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that.
So how are their scores? I think the only one they got absolutely right was the Clark Kent at the end.
Yeah, prediction that Clark Kent would appear at the end of it.
The rest of the predictions, however, would have made a much better film.
Oh, fucking absolutely, yeah. Lois Lane skull fucking Doomsday to death. I mean,
with the kryptonite dildo.
Exactly, and it's fucking beautiful.
Maybe in the sequel.
Yeah, yeah. You heard it here first, Zach. Come on, right?
Yeah.
Don't be creative pussies, right? That's dynamite. That's box office gold.
Listen to your audience.
Yeah.
Just like Microsoft just did.
Yeah, like Microsoft just did. Yeah. In breaking news while we've been recording for the second time, which kind of contradicts all the stuff that came in the last podcast that we just recorded the day before, Microsoft have basically rescinded absolutely everything on their DRM DLC licensing and everything.
Retreat.
Yes, they've basically been. Someone woke up in their hyperbaric chamber and just went, hang on, they did what? And,
now, can I bring up a piece of news that actually might sound quite surprising coming from me, but I know will be of great interest to all of you.
Okay.
Right? Did you know the hot rumor at the moment is that they have found a huge cache of thought lost Doctor Who episodes?
Yes. The BBC aren't actually confirming it, though.
Yeah, but Bleeding Cool has been speculating that it's 3 tons worth that have come from Laos, and yeah, exactly, and it might be up to 90 episodes. I don't know what condition they're in.
Wow.
But there was this archivist, this Doctor Who archivist called Ian Levine, who was basically saying it's bullshit. This guy's never found any lost episodes in his fucking life, and just poo-pooing the whole thing. And then he revealed on Twitter that I think the BFI lied to him blatantly about the existence of these tapes. So it's all a bit of a big mystery at the moment, but apparently they're going to be announcing something quite soon. What do you guys think of that as fans?
Well, as fans, I'm probably the weakest of the fans, to be honest. Personally, I'd say fine for the completists. That's cool. Yeah. Will I be watching them? Possibly out of curiosity, but meh. I think Foxy's probably the one who's going to be more interested and excited about this, aren't you, sir?
Oh my God, are you kidding? It's like, as a Doctor Who fan, you spent your whole life knowing that this whole chunk of it you're never going to see. And you just have to deal with this. As you get into the old stuff, you start buying the VHSs, and suddenly sort of you developing this love for the old wobbly sets and stuff, and you just think you're never going to get this, and all of a sudden there's this whole new old Who. It's amazing. I think it's wonderful.
Do you think, Foxy, it will contain your favourite episode from 1975?
Go on, then. I wonder what that'll be. Hang on, it's got dildos in the title.
No, it's the 5 Doctors Do the Biscuit Game.
It's a TARDIS biscuit.
It's a TARDIS. I mean, yeah, that was a classic episode, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all around the console.
Yeah.
Right.
Or isn't it? What was Karen Gillan's character called?
Karen Gillan. Oh, Amy Pond.
Amy Pond.
She smells of violets.
Amy Pond gets DP'd.
Yeah, she very nearly did when I bumped into her.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby.
No, I did. I bumped into her, knocked the shopping out of her hand.
Oh right.
And she was on the corner of Great Poland Street, of Poland Street and Great Marlborough Street, and basically she was just standing there, and I bumped into her, and there was that moment where she's like standing there, and I've looked at her, and I've kind of gone, and I've obviously had that look on my face that just says, "I recognise you," and she had a look on her face which is like, "Shit, he's just recognised me."
Yeah.
And she immediately scuffed everything up, like grabbed all her stuff, and then basically raced off at high speed with an iPhone in her hand, sort of pretending to talk to someone, even though it was clear that she wasn't talking to anyone. But she had a little green skirt on, as I recall, and she smelt of violets.
Lovely.
Very nice. And she's very tall.
And who's she playing in? She's got a role.
She's a villainess in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, very scantily clad villainous, apparently.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Hey, have you guys seen the video of Russell Brand on MSNBC that morning thing? Now, isn't it really funny? Because not only did he come up with the great new phrase "shaft grasper," right, which I thought was brilliant, but also what I enjoyed most of all is that the blonde anchor woman, right,
clearly was getting a bit
she
excited.
She was frothing. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking like Niagara Falls levels of wetness. She was so fucking gagging for it. I mean, she was literally physically shocked, wasn't she, about like the brazen sexuality on display here and the flirtations. But I reckon that beneath that table, right, it was just it was like a flood.
It was foot job heaven.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
Do you notice that when he put his boots up, he never took them? He must have taken them off in a sort of sly move as he put his foot under the table.
Yeah. I just thought, but shaft grasper, that's one for the ages.
Shaft grasper live on NBC TV in the morning. I love that.
It's fucking beautiful. Yeah, that's one for a T-shirt, isn't it, Foxy?
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying that how you should put shaft.
No, don't repeat it again. He's just he heard you.
Well, no,
dear.
maybe he didn't hear me because he was grasping a shaft.
Yeah, he had his spunky hands in the punch bowl.
He fucking did. Hey, were you sipping the seed?
Actually, I'm looking at pictures of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Really?
Yeah.
Pre or post op?
Sorry, by Jamie Lee Curtis, you mean Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, wearing the towel.
She's got really old. Have you seen her?
Of course, she's in her 50s now.
I know, but
and then some.
Yeah,
she's close to 60 now, isn't she?
Oh, I reckon she's in her mid-50s.
She looks like what's her name? Scottish singer. Oh, I must be looking at an angel.
Oh,
Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox. Looking at an angel, talking to an angel, or something.
Robbie Williams.
Not a big fan.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to wrap this up because.
Speaking of Scottish singers, I reckon that just put this in the pool of names for future episodes, but just say like Sheena Easton's coiffured muff.
Sheena Easton's coiffured muff for your eyes only.
Yeah.
Because she don't build her world round no modern man.
Yeah.
She takes the morning train.
Yeah. Hey, and what did you decide was going to be the name of these podcasts? Man of Piss.
Well, it was, but I genuinely don't know. I think Drink the Seed might have been good, but
sipping the
seed might be good, but right now
Shaft Stroker,
Shaft Grasper.
Yeah.
Grasper, yeah.
Revenge of the Shaft Graspers. Hey, that'd be good for Zod and Co. Revenge of the Shaft Graspers.
Nice. Right, okay, well, thank you very much for the feedback, everyone. Thank you, Jim and Jack, for that interesting feedback. And that's it. It's time to wrap it up. This mammoth-length podcast, or if you listen to it in one hit.
Mammoth Steel.
Mammoth Steel. Very good. Very good. So, yes, by the time you hear this, which will be...
Sorry.
Shut up.
You will be.
Which will be...
I love you.
Shut your mouth, dick. And go take a piss. What's the date next Tuesday?
Is it the 24th?
24th, yeah. So by the time you hear this on the 24th...
Foxy will be in prison.
We'll be on the run. No, by the time you hear this on the 24th, we'll release the podcast then, and we'll have on the following week the movie The Yellow Submarine, which is continuing our musical month. Now, just before we go, has anyone seen The Yellow Submarine recently or remember it?
I started watching the Blu-ray, and I've got to say, the first 5 minutes, if they had just carried on with the vein, from what I can see, I've gone off and done all the Beatles like fucking off his tit stuff. I think it would have been a much better movie from what I've seen so far.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, fair enough.
There's got to be something good in there.
Guys,
I hope so.
Given the sort of the context of the Yellow Submarine, don't
just pull his mic out.
No, don't you think that you guys owe it to your audience to basically do the podcast having taken some mushrooms?
Do you know what?
I'm throwing down the gauntlet now. I think we should
have some extra ones put on our pizzas.
Yes.
Oh, fuck off. You know what I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah.
No one's a virgin here, especially not Foxy. Right. While you guys have just been talking, right? Foxy's currently messaging me on Facebook, and all he's writing is cock. I hate you. You sound like a gay rapist. You rape dog. Shit.
Oh, the normal eloquent Facebook post then. Fantastic.
Oh God. Look.
Absolute cunt.
I don't think you do enough poo updates, Foxy. I miss them.
Do you?
You used to let us know on a regular basis when you were being regular.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you even used to send me texts to say that you were doing quite well building a city in Sim City on your iPad while taking a shit.
I did. I used to text you from the toilets, didn't I? Give you updates on how it was
exactly.
going.
I'm on the 5th floor, disabled loos, and I've managed to build an entire shopping centre. I think there's one...
made of food.
Well, I was going to say, there was no clarification on precisely what you made it out of.
Yeah. Materials were not mentioned.
Yes, thank fuck. Right, okay, well, I tell you what, forget the Yellow Submarine. We'll deal with that as we come to it next week. Okay. So, thank you again, Danny. Thank you, Foxy, for sticking with us for this.
Yeah, it's been a real effort, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, frankly, that works both ways, man. It really does.
Yeah.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and obviously, just sort of my dreams are now echoing with the sound of Foxy's rich golden urine careening into a toilet bowl.
Danny, like you haven't heard it before.
Yeah.
Well,
change a toilet bowl to mouth.
Oh God!
Okay, now it's getting interesting.
Yeah, now it's getting interesting.
Do you know why?
4 bloody hours in.
Why I've really enjoyed this podcast, right? Again, because I put on the Facebook page that I thought that Foxy, the presence of Foxy, was just an utter accelerant to the filth that was going to go on, because I knew that as focused as I was trying to be, I know I'd just be exchanging gay jibes with him. I knew, and that is exactly what's happened.
Oh,
I think I've been very passive, to be honest. I think I've been very restrained.
Yeah, that's what you tell the judge.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I mean, Foxy's a good guy. I mean, he can suck cock like a good one.
You can take the chrome off a trailer hitch.
I learnt it all from your mum, Danny.
Oh God, we're into your mama jokes. Right,
yeah.
Okay, that's definitely the time to call it a day, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you again for being on the cast. And
is anyone still listening?
No one's fucking listening. I'm trying to wrap this fucker up. There's no way of ending this cocking thing. Wanted to die.
Do you know what? Right, because Foxy's just trying to keep this going, because he knows that once he comes off air, right, he's got to go upstairs and be fucking hammered to death with a fucking a novel dildo. He's going to be strapped down to that bed, face down, right?
Say my name, bitch.
So they're just going to fucking have a go at him.
Yeah.
Am I going round to your mum's place again?
Or maybe you're in Austria at Uncle Joseph's place.
Yeah, it's time we pulled the plug, isn't it?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Like a coma patient. I'm asking you to pull the plug.
Bye.
Okay, thanks very much, and we'll see you all next week for the Yellow Submarine. Except for these two cunts, they're not coming back ever again.
He's a cunt.
Goodbye.
Love you, Daddy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Now is the time to say goodbye. Goodbye. Now is the time to yield a sigh. Yield it, yield it. Now is the time to wend our way. Until we meet again some sunny day. Goodbye, goodbye, we're leaving you, Skeletor. Goodbye, we met a fun goodbye. Goodbye, 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 we're leaving you, Skeletor. Goodbye, we met a fun goodbye.
Get out of the booth, Jack.
No, I like it in here.